It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
I want to transition into our 40s, Bo.
Okay.
We called this top of the mountain.
Top of the mountain. That's
I think
so
we could've-
positive.
Yeah,
That's so positive.
I think you guys got a hold of this because I talked about that it could be, top of the mountain is assuming you've done it right, positive. It could be bitter train opportunity moment too, because we do hear there's a lot of midlife crisis that occur in the 40s, and I want to talk to that. Is that I think that if you're on the positive side, I know for myself. If you've done it right, you're more sentimental in your 40s because you've lived long enough now. You can kind of look back with that fondness of some of the things you did, the journeys you've had, the experiences, and it brings makes you feel warm and fuzzy.
Yep.
It makes the hair on your arm stand up. But if you've done it wrong, instead of it being kind of a sentimental thing, it could be kind of a bitter moment where you're like, oh man, I missed out on some really key opportunities. Maybe I should have started saving earlier. Maybe I should have created more memories and enjoyed my 30s a little bit more. Those type of things build up. I want to make sure, because this is the moment. Your 40s, you're still young. I mean, look, as much as Bo picks on me, 40-year-olds, people in their 40s, that decade, you are still very active. You can still do a lot of things, but it is one of those things, if you're not on the track of planning or really putting thought towards this, instead of having 10,000 ways to succeed, your path gets tightened up. You better really be doing that measure twice, cut once moment to make sure you are on the path of abundance and creating success.
Did you just come up with that? I love that. Like when you're in your 20s, you have 10,000 paths to success. When you get to your 40s, it's probably not 10,000 anymore.
Yeah. So you've got it, because that's what I love. There's so much grace and opportunity and flexibility for money, but it does tighten up. So you got to get more and more serious, because it starts narrowing down, and you better be on the right side of it.
All right. So let's check out our financial planning pyramid. So first, if we start at the baseline cash flow, you said something so interesting, Brian. Your 40s was the first decade that you did not feel broke.
Yeah. I even put a number on it. I think it was between 41 and 42 years of age. I actually felt like I had money.
Sure.
And I think I tell people that that's not a brag, because I'm hoping that it's actually a liberator, because I want everybody who's doing things right. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, even late 30s to early 40s, you might be like, when do I actually get to enjoy and feel like this is not, working against me or I'm swimming upstream? I do think this is about the period it happens, because you're having some success in your career. You've been doing automated investing, all the good habits. You're getting the fruits of this. You've now also had 20 plus years of compounding growth. It's no mistake or just tripping over it that most millionaires actually reach it around the 47 to 49 years of age, because they've had over 25 years of compounding growth working for them at that point.
Love it. So one of the things that you can do in your 40s to help yourself is to know your why. And you may be thinking, why are y'all putting this in cash flow? That doesn't seem like a cash flow thing. It very much is. In your 40s, you start recognizing, man, my kids are getting older. I want to be creating memories. I want to be doing these types of things with them. Maybe I don't want to be working 90 hours a week anymore. Maybe I'm not trying to get that next promotion. Maybe I'm not hard charging to try to do whatever the fill in the blank is. I know that this is the level of success I want to achieve, and I'm going to be comfortable living in that place and enjoying the here and now. Or I know that I need to work a little bit harder to get to whatever X is, whatever Y is. Stop moving the goalpost. So often we see people say, man, if I could just get to this income, then you get not just this one, and then this one, and then this one, and this one.
I talk about quit moving the goalposts, because it is one of those things. I mean, if you've got the kids are getting a little bit older, I'm always amazed at people. They get in their 40s, they start having financial success, big incomes, and then they go buy the 5,500, 6,000 square foot house when the kids are going to college in 2 years, and it's one of those things where you quit moving the goalposts. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I'd rather you focus on how you're going to spend your time. What are your hobbies? What makes you happy? Those are the things that you really need to be spending time on, not how you can make yourself look cooler and expand the lifestyle, because I feel like that is something that happens. Quit changing the rules on yourself, because if you keep pushing things bigger and bigger and bigger, you're chasing happiness. happiness. That's not what's going to create the happiness.
Yep.
The happiness is going to come from the activities, the memories, the experiences. So you need to put some effort into what is the happiness factor, because it's not the stuff.
Another thing that I see that is kind of exciting from a cash flow perspective in your 40s is you can start getting a little advanced in how you approach your cash flow. Maybe you're someone who's charitably minded and you've always given money to a specific charity or given money to your church. And you recognize in your 40, maybe there's a better way for me to do this. Maybe I could do something like use a charitable gift fund and I can donate appreciated securities. And with what I was giving, I can replenish my taxable account. It's just a more efficient way to approach how you've already been doing the things you've been doing for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Just at this stage, you can probably take it up a notch. You can probably optimize. You can level up, plus up, do it slightly better, slightly more efficiently.
Risk management wise, I have two things here, and one's kind of counter. I want you to make sure you're exercising. I mean, because this is one of those things where I do think that if you're not using it, you do start to lose it. If you get injured, it takes longer to heal. So make sure you're focusing on exercising, what you eat, because this is that stage. I think we get away with a lot in our 20s and 30s. The 40s, you need to be much more deliberate about it. And this is also going to lead to you to thinking about where are we at from a risk standpoint of my life insurance, because the great news about your 40s is that to actuaries and the people measuring risk, you're still very healthy.
Yeah.
You're young. So you can go buy that new term. You can reset that term life insurance for the kids or whatever else. I had a client meeting yesterday, and it was so cool because we had reshopped their insurance right as they were that 39 to 40 years of age. And now their kids are getting close to graduating from high school, going to college, because we're a few years in the future. And we know we have plenty of life insurance because while rates were low, we reset that term policy. Pay attention to that stuff because it is still one of those low cost moments where you can reassess your what you need from life insurance, disability, and those type of things of protection.
I love how you just use the word reassess, because that same exact thing happens when it comes to investing. 40s might be the type where you need to hyper save if you're behind, because in your 40s, you need to know your number. When you're in your 20s and 30s, it's okay to shoot for a savings rate. I want to be saving 20, 25%. I want to be saving. In your 40s, you ought to be able to start refining that goal. What is my number? What am I trying to get to? And am I on track to get that? Am I ahead? Am I behind? And if I am behind, what do I need to do to start catching up? You should be able to start answering that question when you get into your 40s decade.
This is also, you get to do some fun stuff with your portfolios too, because this is where asset location, you probably are getting beyond the index target retirement funds, where you can focus on where exactly am I putting my money. You can also expand your asset allocation, because those target retirement funds, they're great in the fact that they make a lot of your decisions easy for you, but they are missing out on things like real estate and other asset classes that definitely probably have a place in your overall asset allocation. This is the time to really focus on that.
And then here's what you don't want to focus on in your 40s. Don't outsmart yourself. Don't think that just because what I did in my 20s and my 30s got me here, all of a sudden I have to figure out something more complicated or more complex. No, you can do the same things. It's just with bigger numbers, and you can do it slightly more efficiently, and you have more tools in your tool belt. But don't outsmart yourself. Don't think you have to start getting into private deals or taking on leverage or doing crazy things to continue doing what you've already been doing for the last 2 decades.
I think it shocks people when they find out still the majority of my assets, index funds. When I talk about investing assets, they're still in index funds. They're not in these private deals that lock me up for 12 years. It's just pay attention. There's nothing wrong with being an index investor. You just got to probably be a little more sophisticated with how you structure that in your portfolio.
All right. Now, when you get to tax planning, this is interesting because when you're in your 40s, you've likely been doing your taxes for almost 20 years now. And you said, I've gone 20 years. I've never been audited. No one's ever come and talked to me. Does this whole tax thing really matter? Maybe I can start being a little more gray. Maybe I can be a little more aggressive. Maybe I can start thinking through buying things and writing them off and doing this. And I would caution you, and you say this best, Brian, don't mess with the IRS.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed when I watch, because you guys have me dabbling into Instagram and TikTok and other things like that. And some of the advice I see and just structure an LLC and then start running everything through it, and it's all deductible. I'm like, yeah, it's all deductible until you get caught. And then you're going to quickly realize, hey, the only group, if you don't pay your power bill, they just cut your lights off. If you don't pay your taxes, they come and they take your stuff. And more than likely, a few of the people that come to take your stuff might have a gun strapped to them, because this is the law. This is the government. They have abilities and features of enforcement that you and I can't do. Remember, Al Capone was a mobster, but he went to jail for tax evasion. So it's just something to pay attention to. Don't screw with the IRS, because I have seen my background in public accounting, working in tax preparation for close to 2 decades. I have physically witnessed grown men in their 40s crying because they went and represented themselves before the IRS. The IRS asked them all kind of things. There's just mistakes that you don't want to put yourself on that gray zone to where it derails your entire financial life.
So then another thing that you can do as it relates to tax planning is a little bit goes a long way. In your 40s, if you start thinking about tax planning from a different perspective and less about, okay, how much tax am I just saving this year, but how much tax can I save over my entire financial life, you'll be amazed at how impactful that could be. Likely in your 40s, you're getting into the hyperaccumulation, step 7 of the financial order of operations. You can go check that out at learn.moneyguy.com if you want to know more about that. You are likely starting to think about these different tax buckets. Maybe I don't just need to focus on my asset allocation, how I spread my assets. I ought to also look at my asset location, what types of assets I'm holding in which types of bucket, because all of those buckets are treated differently from a tax perspective. Tax deferred assets grow without paying any income tax now. You pay it when you pull the money out. So in those types of accounts, you want to hold investments to generate ordinary income. These are your bonds, your fixed income, your more conservative investments. Tax-free Roth HSA assets are likely going to grow tax-free if you use them for qualified expenses in the future. That's where you want to hold your high-flying growth assets, the things that you think have the highest capital appreciation potential. You want to put those in your HSAs and in your Roth accounts so that they grow. And then after tax, this is your third bucket. This is that hyperaccumulation bucket. These are assets with more favorable tax treatment. They have capital gain opportunities, or perhaps they have qualified dividend distributions. If you can think about structuring your portfolio to hold different types of assets in different types of buckets over the life of your portfolio, you'll be amazed at what a tax difference it can make.
This is also, Bo, because I love talking about the 3 buckets and making sure you're maximizing the tax location. It is also, you need to pay attention to what marginal tax rate you're in and so forth, because this is where you still are having that discussion of figuring out, am I pre-tax traditional where I am taking that tax deduction out, or am I going to focus on that tax-free Roth that's in my employer plan? And it really has a lot to do with where your tax rates are and what your long-term goals are. Pay attention to that stuff.
All right, now from an estate planning standpoint, in your 40s, there's a chance that your children are getting older. We see this all the time, that someone had their first baby or first couple of babies and they went and got the estate plan done. And it says, if something happens to us, this person wants to, is going to take care of the kids. That's great. When your kids start getting to like 14, 15, 16, and your financial empire is built up, now you have to start thinking about, man, if something happened to us, would my child at age 18 or age 21 or whatever be okay inheriting hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of dollars? So there's a chance your estate plan needs to be updated based on the changing circumstances of your financial life. Don't just assume the one that you put in place 10 years ago is still the one that makes the most sense today.